I thought losing a lover was the most painful thing, until I found out that my mother was a stranger. Chapter 48. Luca. 16 hours after the war was 𝐊𝐢's birthday, the 31st of March. A day that should have been filled with joy and celebration, now tainted with an overwhelming sense of loss and despair. I sat alone in my chambers, clutching 𝐊𝐢's dress to my chest. It was the same one she had worn when she visited me for my birthday, and I inhaled deeply, desperately clinging to her lingering scent. The fabric felt both comforting and tortuous against my skin, a cruel reminder of her absence. My heart constricted painfully as I gazed at her attire, my fingers tightening around the delicate material as if I could somehow conjure her from it. The emptiness in my chest threatened to consume me entirely. 𝐊𝐢𝐳 had extended an invitation for me to join the Northern Kingdom in 𝐊𝐢. 𝐿𝐲, too, had pleaded with me to accompany them, insisting it was what 𝐊𝐢 would have wanted. Deep down, I knew he was right. 𝐊𝐢, in her infinite kindness, would not have wanted me to suffer alone. But I couldn't bring myself to go. The thought of facing her culture, her people, and seeing reflections of her in every face was unbearable. I feared that if I ventured out, I would be overcome with hatred for every beating heart I encountered. Knowing that 𝐊𝐢 no longer pulsed with life, the grief was all-consuming, and I chose to bear it in solitude. Luca. 2 weeks after the war, I stood before the great tree of the West, my heart heavy with sorrow and a flicker of desperate hope. 14 days had passed since 𝐊𝐢 had been declared dead, yet I clung to the faint possibility that she would reappear, her emerald eyes meeting mine once more. What tormented me most was the fading presence of our bond. I could still feel her, albeit weakly, as if she were just beyond my reach. No matter how many journeys I embarked upon or how many hours I spent scouring the former outskirt lands, I could not find her. In my mind's eye, I saw her trapped in some hidden cage, waiting for the sound of trumpets that would herald her freedom. Fate, ever knowledgeable, had explained that the Mother Witch's magic was too powerful for anyone but 𝐊𝐢 herself to break. This information both frustrated and motivated me. Every day, I found myself at the foot of the great tree, offering prayers to the moon goddess. I beseeched her to guide 𝐊𝐢, to spare her the misery of facing this ordeal alone. As I stood there, my fingers tracing the rough bark, I felt a connection to 𝐊𝐢 that transcended our physical separation. Luca. 2 months after the war. As time wore on, my prayers to the moon goddess transformed from humble supplications into forceful demands. No longer did I beg for her assistance in bringing 𝐊𝐢 back to me. Instead, my voice rose in anger, shouting into the night sky. The injustice of 𝐊𝐢's fate burned within me like a raging inferno. She who had selflessly risked her life for others time and time again did not deserve such a cruel destiny. My beloved 𝐊𝐢, brave and self-sacrificing to a fault, deserved so much more than this unblessed fate. In my fury, I paced the castle grounds, my loyal guards keeping a respectful distance. They understood the depth of my grief and the intensity of my determination. As I walked, I recalled every moment I had shared with 𝐊𝐢, every sacrifice she had made for the good of others. The memory of her kindness and bravery only fueled my resolve to find her and bring her home. For fuck's sake, she threw me out of a window just to make sure I would not go through whatever it was she was battling, and even then she made sure I had commanded my beast to catch me from whatever distance. Tears burned in my eyes as the holland was her absence accompanied strength in its face. I just wanted one more moment with her, a proper goodbye. That's all. Was it too much to ask for? Was the moon so cruel to give me paradise and rip it away from me the minute I had accustomed myself to it? Come on. I scratched my beast's chin, giving 𝐊𝐢's battlefield one last look before flying back to my empty castle. Luca. 5 months after the war, I walked through the hallways of my castle, unable to find purpose in my being. Mother was no longer my ally. Father was gone, and Lara was in the north sending me letters of her wonderful time swimming the sandy shores of Beirut. She told me she was naming her son 𝐿𝐲. I told her it was a beautiful name and that I would visit her once she had given birth to him. Nothing more. My responses had become more 𝐷𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐻, in fact. I was drowning in sorrow. Everyone around me was happy, celebrating the peace that had bestowed their lands, whereas I stood mourning with every day that passed. Half of my soul was missing, and I could do nothing but relish in its loneliness. Luca, 8 months after the war, I held my niece in my hands, eyes meeting his shining blue orbs. 𝐊𝐢. In Arabic, it meant night. I asked Laura 3 months before she birthed him if it was a tribute to Leela, but she refused to admit so. Her teary eyes today told me otherwise. 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐠 beautiful, I whispered, coddling him into my chest. He has your eyes, Laura, so full of life, so eager. I'm just glad he got my male's tan skin. I've suffered with sunburns all year long. Pale skin only works in between castle walls, Laura complained, handing 𝐊𝐢 her pinky. The north is just as brutal as it is pretty. I chuckled for the first time in a while, running my fingers through 𝐊𝐢𝐻𝐼𝐻𝐿 scalp. The longer I looked at 𝐊𝐢, the louder his heartbeat turned to my ears, the stronger the hollenness in my chest grew. Oh, my Leela, if only you were here to see this. If only it was you and I holding our pup. Luca, 5 years after the war, it was the 5th year anniversary of 𝐊𝐢𝐻𝐼𝐻's disappearance. All 4 kingdoms, the West included, held mourning ceremonies for the warrior that granted them their eternal freedom. Laura told me it would be good to show up at the north once more and mourn with them, but my wounds still laid unhealed. I didn't think they would ever heal. As I walked down the spiral staircase that led to the dungeons, the horrid scent of mold and �𝐸 rushed up my nose. I appreciated it, though, as wicked as the scent was, at least it made me feel something other than nothing. Nowadays, I found myself a robust king in the day, but an empty man in the night. I signed papers, aided in developments occurring in all 4 kingdoms, helped the families who yet haven't fully recovered from the consequences of the war but came back home to a silent room and a heavy heart. It was better than it was before, but it still was good. None of it. 𝐊𝐢 was my light. She was the white noise blocking out everything that I didn't want to hear. Unfortunately, the buzzing bees that fed my once restless soul lost their queen. They were aimless. I was aimless. I pushed the gates open, giving the 2 guards protecting the dungeon a curt nod before entering. It had been 5 full years since I last spoke to my mother. Even calling her my mother did not feel right. So as I walked past the cells, the sound of whimpers and sobs making their way up my ears, I felt my heart squeeze at the thought of her reaction. Would she be happy to see me? Would she be glad that we won the war? Would she mourn 𝐊𝐢𝐻𝐼𝐻's disappearance with me? All my thoughts ceased to exist when I found her cell. The exiled queen of all werewolves sat in the corner of her 4-walled home, munching on dry bread as she stared hollow lie in front of her. It wasn't until her eyes landed on mine that she stilled, the food in her hand dropping to the ground. Luca. Tears itched at my eyes. I hated seeing her in such a state. Yes, she gave my father a horrible marriage. She hid him, manipulated him into wedding her, and took control of his position. Yes, she lied to me and her entire kingdom. Yes, she was the main cause of 𝐊𝐢𝐻's disappearance. But she was all I had left. She was my mother. What brings you here? She stumbled upwards, making her way to the bars of the obsidian-laced cell. Why are you here? Even down here her white locks shone. As much as I detested her for what she had done, she certainly was a force to be reckoned with. I've come to see you, I let out, stuffing my shaking hands into the pockets of my pants. Why? She swallowed, her eyes roaming the length of my body. Why now? It's been years. Luca, why now? I paused for a beat, the emotions swirling in my heart too robust before I spoke. Because today marks the 5th year of 𝐊𝐢𝐻's death. It was the first time I said it out loud to someone other than myself. Because today marks the 5th year half of my soul disappeared. I felt a straight air crawl down my cheek, but didn't think to do anything about it. Let her see what she did to her own kin. Her lips parted and her pupils blackened. She took in a deep breath before she continued. I'm sorry. Luca, your pity means nothing to me. I mean it. Her eyes welled up with dense stares. "Your father and I were not bound by the moon. Before him, I had a mate myself when the moon took from me. He died 2 weeks after I met him." She looked away, licking her tears off her lips. "His name was 𝐊𝐿𝐳. He died trying to fetch me an indigo feline in the outskirts. I did not find it in me to pity her, but she continued nonetheless. His death was so avoidable, so completely and utterly needless." She fisted her palms. "When Mother found out, she knew no male would have wedded a mated woman, especially in my time. So she had a plan, and her plan worked. Somehow, I ended up here, the ruler of all 4 kingdoms. So you knew the power of the moon's bond, yet you still went after my woman." I inched closer to her cell, watching as she cowered away. "You went after your own son's soul." She sighed, frustrated. Luca. Her eyes looked into my almost, cowered. "Can you not tell? Can you not see?" "See what?" My soul swayed, seeping out of my body for the most minute of seconds. What else was she hiding? What else was she planning? Was she the answer to 𝐊𝐲's disappearance? Her response was anything but. In fact, it was something I could have never imagined. "I am not your mother." 5 words that entered my soul like a flame. 5 words that left my heart in ashes. "What?" I whispered to myself, stumbling backwards. "You have your father's face, his pale skin and dark hair, his bright blue eyes and broad shoulders." She tilted her head, anger flashing through her ocean orbs. "Lara, on the other hand, she is a stark image of your mother. Red hair, strong nose, long legs and green eyes. She looked nothing like me. The only thing separating her from looking like her mother was her white skin. She got that from her father." "What?" It came out louder than before. "I thought Lara would have been an obvious pointer. She looked nothing like me or your father. I was just grateful did not get the tan skin of your mother's. That would have stirred waters we did not need in the castle." She came closer to me, so much that I could feel the heat of her breath on my skin. "Did you never think to yourself why I did not bother taking care of you? Why I rarely ever spoke to your sister? Did you ever question how your father died? What did you do to him?" I snarled, wrapping my fist around the bars. "Guilt." She reeked from it. "He died of a broken heart." She looked down, rubbing her hands against one another. "Fear not. I would not go as far as to kill the king of all wolves. What did you to my mother? Where is she?" The last part came out as a plea, and I hated my desperation. It made me sick. "Your father warned me before we wedded that if he found his mate, he would leave me for her. At first, I accepted. We lived 15 years as royalty. Our relationship was nothing more than a pact. Every time we tried, the moon never blessed me with a pup. I grew sick of him, of the goddess, of all 4 kingdoms. She croaked, and then she came. 𝐿𝐲. That's all I remember of her. The North visited us to renegotiate the terms of their treaty. She came in her armor, 2 swords strapped on her back and 2 more in her boot. I never which I knew. Right then and there, I knew that she was his just as much as he was hers. My mother was a northerner, a warrior. The knots in my heart tightened. I squeezed so evermore, regardless of the tears welling up in my eyes, nor the shaking of my entire being. Mother continued. I begged him not to send me back to the West. Somehow, I managed to convince him that his image would be shattered if the 4 kingdoms found out of his affair of a mate. So he kept your mother a secret, and they both agreed to do so." A sob made its way out of her throat. "Then you were born. I just thought to myself, how wonderful would it be if I had a son that was king? It would be the ultimate ticket to freedom. I would finally be stable, and I would be able to give my family more." "Stop," I leaned against the bars, out of breath. "Please. STO then. That wretched Lara came. She had your mother's eyes. Lips, voice, everything." Her tears were drenched in sadness, but her lips morphed in rage. "I put an end to it then. I gave your father 2 options. I pammed my chest. afraid my heart would fall out. I told your father to choose. She raised her head, jaw ticking. Either I would kill her and have all 4 kingdoms know of her adultery, or he made her disappear. What did he pick? My voice turned low. The second option. Of course. I ordered a young witch to erase her memory of all 3 of you. Especially me. I don't know how well her spell worked, though. The witch wasn't experienced in her magic. She took a shaky breath. After doing so, we sent her back to the north. I haven't heard of her since then. You monster. I rasped, knuckles whitening against the bars. You fucking monster. Oh please. I've spent enough time rotting in this cell to know that I am a monster. I don't need to hear it from you. Father should have killed you. I snarled, flashing my eyes at her. He should have strangled you and left your body as treats for the beasts. He 𝐾𝐜𝐤. Her eyes turned empty as they stared behind me. My mother's dearest friend was a witch. All it took was 1 glass off an expensive elixir in his tea and I was ensured that he would never lay a hand on me. Even the thought of killing me would never run through his skull. My heart broke for my father. None of this was his fault. His heart was caged, trapped in an unbreakable cell until it stopped. Would I have the same fate as my father? Would my heart one day give up on me? Do you have nothing to say? She asked, eyes looking into my own for answers. I will not spare you the privilege of looking into my heart, I said, taking a step back from her cell. Even your thoughts are poison. Luca, do not utter my name on your lips or so help me goddess, I will cast every spell there exists on your being. I yelled. I am controlling every fiber in my body. My wolf wants your blood and his gutty wants your heart, where he can feel it unbeating. Please, listen to me, guards. I called out. Reduce her food by half. Do not give her a change of clothes until 4 full moons have passed. As for water, make sure you spit in it before you give it to her. I snuck my hands into her cell, fisting her hair with all my strength. This woman is not the queen of all wolves and never was. She is a traitor, an enemy of the moon and all 4 kingdoms. Spare her no mercy. Yes, king, they repeated, saluting as they bowed. You will die before you witness the beauty of the next eclipse. You will never feel another hand on your skin unless it's wounding you. You will never see the sun or the moon until your soul is with the goddess. I pulled harder at her hair, watching as she sobbed into my hand. You will be treated as the beast you are until your last breath has passed, and I will make sure of it. I released her, turning around before I could see her collapse onto the ground. Her cries echoed from the back of the dungeon all the way to the front, overpowering the rest of the sorrowful voices resting with her. It wasn't until I slammed the door behind me that silence finally accompanied me. That silence brought hope alone with it. Hope that neither I nor Lara were alone. Hope that I had someone to replace the voice Leela left behind. That night I sent a letter to 𝐴𝐵𝐵𝐿, informing him of the news I had just discovered. I sent a letter to Kate, asking her if there was any way we could reverse the spell Mother had been cursed with. And finally, I sent a letter to Lara. I was suddenly glad I had overworked myself. My insomnia had given me approximately 3 weeks of freedom from castle work, so I packed my bag and got on my beast, finally gaining some form of purpose in life. Even in her absence, Leela was a blessing. Somehow, on the 5th year anniversary of her death, she managed to bless me with a gift. The gift of truth. Come on. I scratched the bottom of my beast's chin, watching as he purred and leaned into my touch. Let's fly. To the north. I went. To the north. I wept. Chapter 49 Filler Luca 5 years after the war. In total we've got well more than 40 Ray NS. 𝐴𝐵𝐵𝐿 all ran a stressed hand through his graying hair. The good part is that there's only 38 above the age of 150. You forgot the part where her memory is erased. I huffed, leaning back into my chair. Fear not. So long as a young witch casts that spell, it will be very easy to break. Kate squeezed my arm, sending me a warm smile. My gut tells me she's alive and well, so be hopeful. I've been hopeful for 5 years and look where it's gotten me. 𝐿𝐹 pointed to his hair. Hope is nothing but a scam. It's like having an arrow pointed to your head until the day you pass away. Tooth. I agreed. I ordered my men to bring me all the 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐬 in my kingdom. You best hope that she did not flee from the north during the war. Kate, please brew whatever potion you need to make. Do you need a cauldron or any of that? 𝐿𝐲 last. Kate chuckled, shaking her head in the process. Nonsense. All I need is my head in my hands. It'll be off then. The once wicked would shut the door behind her, enveloping us in an essence of thick silence. I swallowed. It's been 5 years. King Luca. 𝐿𝐲 rose a brow, eyeing me warily. How have you been doing? I've been okay, I replied, voice monotonous. 𝐿𝐲 tut, shaking his head. I can hear your heart all the way from here. Son, lying will only get you so far. It wasn't until his eyes traveled to my knees that I realized they were bouncing with incredible speed. Are you sure you're okay? He prodded, eyes swallowing up the mess it'd become. I sighed, jaw ticking as I looked anywhere but him. No, I admitted. No, I'm not okay, and that's okay. 𝐿𝐲 let out a deep breath. None of us are okay. As of now, 𝐊𝐲 has painted 7 intricate portraits of 𝐊𝐲. Sometimes, he forgets that his subjects don't all have my little girl's green eyes. He mourns every day. I asked him why he painted her so much. He said it was because he didn't want his daughter to forget about her aunt. 𝐊𝐲 has a daughter now. What about you? I asked, pushing the thought out of my head. How do you feel? When I'm with my kids, I find it easy to push the hollowness out of my chest. It's only when I'm alone that I find myself weighing 1,000 tons. He pointed to his heart. Mountains of regret lay atop my soul. It feels as though it has just happened yesterday. 𝐿𝐲 ushered me to visit her grave, even urged me to pray atop it. But to this day I refuse. He shook his head, lips pursed. I refuse to stand atop a grave with no body beneath it. Her death, her disappearance. 𝐿𝐲 corrected. Her disappearance. My heart squeezed at the mention of hope. Her disappearance refuses to register to me. I began. 𝐿𝐹. I can still feel her. She is not dead, but she's not alive. She's in limbo, somewhere in the mother witch's mind and able to hear the trumpets those wretched seers said she would. He let out a shaky breath, eyes watering. Well then, I guess we just have to wait. Time is our best friend here. I swallowed, a shiver running down my spine. Talk to me, boy. Let it out. All this frustration is not good. You need to talk. 𝐿𝐹 ushered. I am going through the same thing. I will understand you. I exploded, like a ticking time bomb. I let it all out. My soul is incomplete. A chunk of it has gone missing with 𝐊𝐲. I panned my chest, jaw clenching with the pain that accompanied my heart. It's just 𝐿𝐹. I don't know how to phrase it other than that. Every second I spend with a being that's not her is a second I spend mourning that they're alive and she's gone. I let out a quivering breath, throat clogging with emotions I grew accustomed to. Ever since Lara moved to the north, I have become a lonely king, one that drowns himself in work and liquor. 𝐊𝐲 despised alcohol. He said, in fact, it is completely banned in the north. Anyone found possessing alcohol would have to pay a hefty fine. Really? Really? Ever since she was young, she would judge the Westerners that visited us who came drunk off their boots and ask, Father, how could someone live a happy life if all of their happy moments are made true with the sip of a drink? That sounds very much like her. A sad smile made its way to my lips and forced my eyes to look down. It's been 5 years and I cannot get her eyes out of my head. They're all I see when I'm not looking at papers, and they're all I think of when I'm not working. She had 𝐊𝐲's eyes. It was 𝐿𝐹 turn to look down. Her mother's eyes were just as bright as hers. He began fidgeting with his tan fingers. In many ways, 𝐊𝐲 was just like her mother. So strong on the outside but so soft on the inside. You should. However, never mistake the softness of her soul as weakness. It was what made both of those women the absolute warriors they were. Was 𝐿𝐸's mother also a warrior? No, he shook his head. She was a housewife, one with big dreams and standards as high as the moon. We were silent for a while, both recalling the beautiful memories we once had with 𝐿𝐸 𝐿𝐸. For the first time in 5 decades of full moons, the weight settling atop my heart lessened in its volume. For the first time in a while, I was not mourning alone. 𝐿𝐸 was the first to break the silence. What did 𝐿𝐸 think of me? 𝐿𝐸 ran his hands down his face. Please, do not sugarcoat it. I want honesty from your end. I sighed, eyeing him for a beat before I began. She loved you, that was for sure. She would have taken an arrow in the heart for you at any time of the day. Before she found out you were alive, she spoke of you as that you were the warrior of all warriors, that you were the man who made her who she was. It's just, I gulped, unable to face the sadness warming his brown orbs. She didn't think you loved her as much as you love your. When we had dinner at your palace, she told me she did not feel at home. She felt foreign that you had disposed of her. O goddess, 𝐿𝐸 shut his reddening eyes. Why did you not look for her as much as you should have? I asked. I don't mean to pry, but I've always. When our previous alpha was pronounced dead, the entire pack voted me to be their new leader. Never in a million years would I have ever thought that they wanted me as their new king. He spoke, voice raspy, after finding out 𝐿𝐸 had disappeared. I ordered as many willing soldiers as I could to look out for her. I could not force the men that had just lost their entire families to put their lives in danger once more, so I did not command them. We organized search parties for weeks, and our numbers were low, as you can imagine with a pack who had just undergone a war. For weeks in, I decided I was ready to bury 𝐿𝐸. When I went back into my old cottage and saw that the door to the tunnel my grandfather's grandfather had dug out was open, I just knew she was in the outskirts. So why did you have that tunnel in the first place? 𝐿𝐸, may her kind soul rest in peace, forced me to keep it open. He nodded to himself. I found out when she passed that 𝐿𝐸 was part seer, so I think she knew this was going to happen. She used to be so full of life, so full of love, and then, one day, she completely changed. 𝐿𝐸 leaned into the couch, letting out a sigh before he continued. Now that I think of it, she probably knew all of this was going to happen. I never questioned her, though. After finding out that 𝐿𝐸 was in the outskirts, I ordered my men to look for her. I remember that day so clearly. I sent out 20 men. Only 3 came back, and one of them lost his ability to see, so I could not command the men that were going through the same pain I was simply because I became their leader. Did you ever go to the outskirts to look for her? I asked. He nodded. I disappeared for days in the outskirts until the day came where I could not. Pack work was piling up. I had to draft treaties with the East and South to aid in the recovery of the North. I was being pulled from both my arms, and I had to choose one to give up on. He took D for the end time that day, so I chose the pack. In my head, 𝐿𝐸 was gone. I could not feel her through our blood bond. It was not fair of me to force my soldiers to look for someone who was deemed dead, and it was not fair on my people to have my mind elsewhere. He had his reasons. I'm sure if 𝐿𝐸 had heard him now, those razor-edged butterflies swiveling in her stomach would dissipate. It broke my heart that she was somewhere out there, unknowing of all these answers unfolding to the questions in her head. I'm sorry you had to go through all of that, I said, heart pulling at his pain, and I'm sorry you have to go through this as well. That comfortable silence swarmed the room once more, allowing me to breathe with ease. That was interrupted when King 𝐿𝐸 spoke. King Luca, he began, eyes brightening. Do you mind me calling you that? I shook my head, awaiting his response. Why don't you stay with us? 𝐿𝐸 laughed, forcing my lips to part. You have bonded with a woman of the North. You're one of us now. You can take 𝐿𝐸's beach palace, reside on our shores and stay with our people, and if your mother is still alive, then you are a son of the North. You have the rights to be here. King or not, I cannot. Think about it. He interrupted as he placed one hand on my shoulder. Don't come up with an answer now. Just think about it and find a way to correlate your packwork with the North. Okay, I responded, baffled, just as I was about to reject his idea. Two guards marched through the arched hallway of Alpha Biolaw's living room, the sound of their metal armor echoing through the walls of his great palace. They bowed to both Bilal and I before speaking. All 40 Ray and S are waiting in a line outside the palace. With the information you gave us, only 4 of them had history of being warriors of the North. Is there anything else you would like us to gather? Bilal shook his head. That will be all. 𝐿 With one last bow, the guards marched out to the front of the palace to continue their daily task of protecting the Alpha's home. Are you ready? Bilal asked, head turning to face me. I gulped. As ready as I'll ever be. Bilal, which Bilal? Kate and I made our way to the back of the palace where 40 women stood alongside one another, all equally confused as to why exactly they were asked to visit their Alpha's palace. At the sight of us, they immediately bowed. I could hear their hearts beating all the way from where I was standing. All were fearful but one. I eyed the woman who stood straight, head shaved into a buzz cut with wonderful henna prints lining the length of her arms. She was a woman of great age. That anyone could tell, but the strength she held was undeniable, even in her years. Her arms were muscular and her physique was strong. Could it be? Nausea hit me like a wave crashing onto sandy shares, ushering dizziness into my being. I suddenly did not want to know who my real mother was. Suddenly, I wanted to be back in my castle as I signed off on thousands of papers without a single thought running through my head. Oh, beloved women of the North, you have all been brought here for one reason and one reason only. You will not know of the reason unless you have direct ties with the question at hand. Bilal's voice was loud and clear. I asked at the woman who the suspect is her not speak until the rest of the women leave. Am I understood? Yes, Alpha. They all responded. Bilal gestured for Kate to begin, arm held out and palms facing the wonderful setting sun. She nodded, sending me one last smile before she began. Under her breath, Kate chanted beautiful songs in a language I could not comprehend and not want to comprehend. I simply wanted this to be done and over with. The suspense was eating at me like worms destroying an apple from the inside out. The thought that one of these fine women could or could not have been my mother made my heart itch so much that I wanted to claw it out of my chest to relieve myself from the discomfort of it all. I just prayed she did not die in the war. I just prayed that I was no longer alone. I just prayed that the goddess would finally bless me with news laced with nothing but good. To end her ritual, Kate swayed her arms in circular motions, eyes closed as her lips mumbled incoherent words, before suddenly snapping her fingers and forcing a wave of energy to swish through me. It is done, Kate said. I will be off. I have urgent matters to attend to. Good luck, my king. Good luck to you too. Kate, I answered, sending her a grateful nod before moving my eyes to the crowd of unbothered women. To those who feel the same as they were when they walked through the doors of my palace, you are all excused. To the one who does not, please stay, Bilal ordered, watching as all the women bowed before walking off to continue their day as normal. All but one. The woman I had eyed, the one with beautiful patterns staining her tan skin. It was only then I noticed when the sun kissed the top of her skull that her hair shone a bright red. Her once fierce eyes were now lined with tears. Her lips turned, quivering on the process as she rose her hand and placed it atop her mouth. My soul left my body at the sight of her. Oh, goddess, she wailed, hands shaking. Oh, goddess. I was glued to the ground from my feet. My brain refused to accept that she was alive, all well and breathing. Simply looking at her tore me apart. The fact that this woman birthed me was something I could not accept nor comprehend. She placed her hands on her knees as she bent over, releasing long, deep breaths in an attempt to calm herself. I wanted nothing more than to feel her touch, to look into her eyes and hear her stories. I took slow steps towards her, hands held out in ceasefire as I approached her. She was beautiful. Mother was absolutely beautiful. My heart trembled at the sight of her eyes. This was probably all too much for her. Too much too soon. Guilt crawled through my veins at the thought of her existing life and how it would soon shatter. What if she had her own kids? Her own mate and own job? Who was I to ruin it all for her? And especially like this on a random Friday morning. Oh my boy. She raised her hand, swallowing. Can I hold you? Would you mind it? Habibi. Habibi. One word. Leela told me it meant my dearest. Hearing her call me such a profound word in her mother tongue etched tears in my eyes and frustration in my lungs. I could not remember her, no matter how hard I tried. I could not remember her. She felt like home. Simply looking into her eyes brought me warmth I had not felt in half a decade. But everything about her was foreign and different. So I nodded. I gave her express permission to hold me. Her palm met my cheek with grace. She rubbed her thumb against my cheekbone, forcing robust emotion from my stomach and into my heart. It was as though her touch was bringing me back to life. Do you remember me? She croaked, lips quivering. I took in a shaky breath, unable to withstand the love her eyes held for me now. Tears left the sockets of her eyes at my answer. I'm sorry. Do not apologize. My love, I am not crying because you do not remember me. Trust me, I do not expect you to. I am crying because you have your father's voice. She dropped her hand, allowing the hollowness in my chest to return. You sound just like him when he was younger, goddess. You look just like him. Father's, I choked, throat clogging with tears as I looked down at my feet. Father's gone. He passed years ago. I know. My boy, I know. Despite having her whole world turned upside down, she seemed to be the one comforting me. I felt it. I felt it all in my heart. His soul no longer beats alongside my own. I felt it all. The minute that witch snapped her fingers, I felt everything. How are you so calm? I asked, looking down at her in wonder. How are you not on your knees praying to the goddess in this very moment? When you live your whole life knowing that something is missing, you tend to be grateful for the truth even if it's a truth you do not want to bear. I know your father is in a much better place now. If the goddess willed for him to pass, then it was for a reason. She suddenly gasped, eyes widening. Where is your sister? Where is Laura? She's alive. I smiled through my tears at the mention of my sister. She has a son. You have a grandson. She cupped my face in her strong hands and wiped at my tears, smiling with me. Oh, what a beautiful day it is. I rose my hands and laid it atop her own. You do not feel real. I confessed. None of this feels real. How long has it been? She asked. How long has it been since that wretched queen erased my memories? A little over 152 years. But it's okay. I assured her. It's okay. It's okay. Come on now. Let's visit your sister. I need to hear everything I've missed. I need to make up all the time I've wasted. Oh, Leela, if only you were here to see this. If only you were here to calm me through the storm I was in. If only you were here to witness the first blessing I've received since your disappearance. Chapter 50 Luca 10 years after the war location, the North. You know, there's this thing called manners where you don't eat with your mouth open. Laura snarled, snatching the Arabic bread out of my hands as Leela sat on her lap. Mom, tell this rat of a being to be quieter. I glared at her. Laura, which Laura? Just sit on the couch. Leela looks uncomfortable enough as it is. Ray Ann groaned, sprinkling a handful of chili onto the 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐠'𝐬 she cooked. I knew you had a favorite. Laura cried out in comical misery. Shut it. Laura, I love you both equally. Yeah. I said. My tone condescending. She loves us both equally. Not even a second later, I found the pita bread that was once in her hand sliding off my face. You brat. I snarled. Suck it. Brute. I swear to the goddess I will, kids. Rain interrupted, forcing our eyes to face her. Stop this. You both are old enough to have a civil conversation. Luca, you should know better than to argue with a pregnant woman. I sighed, glaring at Laura once more before a smile made its way to my lips. Despite Laura angering the wild beast within me, I loved her to bits. Ever since 𝐊𝐲 came into our lives, everything seemed so much more colorful. She filled the void 𝐊𝐲 left being, but not fully. When I'm not training 𝐊𝐲 and 𝐵𝐿𝐲 as sons, I am alone in the house 𝐊𝐲 and I shared a bed in. When I'm not in my headquarters, signing off on pack work and drafting laws against revolution, the silence seeped into my skin like venom, but it wasn't as bad as before. Is everything okay, Luca? Laura asked, eyes concerned. I nodded, sending her the best smile I could muster up. That's good, she said, smiling softly at me. It's just, your eyes went away for a second. Don't worry, there's nothing new. I just wish 𝐊𝐲 was here, I confessed, leaning against the dining chair of 𝐊𝐲's home. She would have loved you, Mom. She would have loved 𝐊𝐲. In fact, she would have fought with me for training 𝐊𝐲 instead of her. 𝐊𝐲's green eyes flashed through my memory, pulling at my heart for the most minute of seconds before I continued. But I've come to terms with it. Oh, Luca. Mother sighed, a hand held at her chest. She was a wonderful girl. I only met her mother a handful of times, but every time I did, 𝐊𝐲 would be a wonder, constantly asking if I needed anything. A sad smile graced Mother's lips. She was so young at the time. I think 12. The knots in my stomach tightened at the thought of 𝐊𝐲 in her younger years. Come on then. I changed the subject, ushering Mother to sit down. Let's eat as quickly as possible. We have a ceremony to attend to. 15 years after the war. I stood over 𝐊𝐲's grave, inexplicable emotions running through my veins. It's been 15 years, and I finally mustered up the courage to visit your empty grave. I bent down, eyeing the rock with her engraved name. It's been 15 years and I cannot seem to forget you. A sigh escaped my lips as I stood back up, shoving my hands into my pockets. I moved to the north. It's much nicer here, I admitted. I turned my castle into a school. Wolves from all 4 kingdoms can go there to learn medicine, how to saw, how to cook, how to garden, and all kinds of arts. I paused for a beat, swallowing. I know how much you crave to learn of the arts, whether that be painting or music. It's why I made arts the biggest department. A cold wind crawled up my bones, forcing a shiver down my spine. It's hard, I said, heart-churning. It's really hard without you. Every time I catch myself smiling, guilt swarms me like a tornado. I do not deserve to be happy knowing that you're out there, trapped in a cage and unable to flee. My beast purred from behind me, nudging his nose into my shoulder. I knew you for less than a month, 𝐊𝐲 added. I began, but it's been 15 whole years and it feels like I've lost you just yesterday. You feel so close, but so far. Tears formed in my eyes, and I let them flow freely. I was talking to 𝐊𝐲. I could not hide from her, as far away as she was. The first thing I thought when I first met you was, if this woman did not bleed red, she would have been an angel. I looked down at my feet, sadness swallowing me whole. But now, you are one. Now you no longer bleed. I turned around, facing my beast. He bowed, offering me submission I gladly accept. You are to reside in the outskirts. I palmed my beast's head, graciously running the palm of my hand across his skin. Unless 𝐊𝐲 is with you, you will not come back. You have served your purpose here. Your last mission is to come back with the Queen of all 4 kingdoms. Am I understood? My beast whimpered, nudging my once more. I smiled. He certainly was a wonderful creature. Go off now, I ushered, encouraging him. You will be fine without me. With one last screech, my beast was off, gliding against the wind with his wonderfully colorful wings. I was going to miss him, that was for sure. but he was better off with his own kind. Kate told me that the only reason he did not disappear was that he could fly similar to birds. The rest of the unruly creatures that used to roam the once outskirts land dissipated into nothing but ashes, but not the ones with wings. She said that they were loyal and actively looked for riders, and once they found them, would never choose another master again. I watched as he disappeared into the night skies, heart pulling at the sight. The next time I would see him was with 𝐊𝐲, and I would make sure if it. I gave 𝐊𝐲's imposter grave one last look before walking off, leaving my heart with her. 20 years after the war, how do you feel? I asked 𝐿𝐲, sitting down in front of him in the process. It feels good to know that my oldest son has successfully taken my throne. He replied, Nader will be an excellent alpha. With your training and mine combined, he will be practically invincible. It feels like just yesterday when he came knocking at our door. I picked up my glass of tea. 𝐊𝐲 walked with him all the way to your place. I could tell she liked him. He chuckled, picking up his glass as well. I remember it so clearly. When Nader finished his painting with her, he came up to me all squealing and gushing about how great she was. 𝐿𝐲 pointed to the wall that held a painting of Alpha Nader and 𝐊𝐲. 𝐻ES the one that decided to put the painting up there. Every time we redecorated the place, he ordered the workers to not lay a finger on the paint. To this day, he still does. The best decision he made as future alpha was to ask her to pose in that painting with him. I smiled, head tilting at the beauty 𝐊𝐲 held even in a still painting. Do you know who painted that? A kind man by the name of Ollie. 𝐿𝐲 responded. Could I meet him? I asked. You'd like to ask him to paint a portrait of her? Of who? I furrowed my brows at him. 𝐿𝐲, I said, leaning forward. You could not possibly have forgotten. I'm sorry. He ran a hand down his face, eyes wide and open. I've been forgetting a lot lately. My heart pulled. Even of 𝐿𝐲. My tone was angry, laced with betrayal. How could you? He sighed, stressed. I'll let you in on a little secret, but you cannot tell anyone. Only Nader knows. He looked around to ensure that nobody was around. But you must promise. Luca, you must swear on the goddess that you will not spill this secret in any way, shape, or form. I swallowed. I will not. He took one sip of his tea before beginning. As I said, I've been forgetting a lot. So I asked the pack doctor to examine me, and he warned me I could lose my memory in 10 to 15 years. He said it's only happened a handful of times before, and that there's no cure. What? I shook my hand. That cannot be. Why would that even happen? He said something about too much stress in the system, how it can reverse the aging of your mind. He gulped down the remaining liquid in his glass, sighing. It's when Nader took my position so early. I feared I would embarrass my pack, but 𝐻ES also ready for it. 𝐻ES been ready for a while. 28 is quite young for an alpha. I said. It is. He nodded. But trust me, Luca, 𝐻ES ready. I stayed silent for a while, torn. The pack doctor was absolutely sure there is no cure. 𝐿𝐲 nodded at my question. What about Kate? Can't she do something? The only thing she said she could do was create a memory box for me to look into every day. Other than that, she said her magic was not as powerful as it used to be ever since the outskirts dissipated. She did not want to accept the consequence if anything were to go wrong. Fuck. I cursed. I don't mind the memory box. It's what's keeping me going at this point. It's the only reason I haven't told 𝐵𝐴. As he rambled on about how he was going to keep his sickness a secret, I could only think of one thing. Come back. 𝐿𝐲, come back before it's too late. 23 years after the war. What if all you need is a woman? �K�M𝐼 suggested, passing me the weights. Simply thinking of another woman's touch makes me nauseous. You brute. I stood in front of the mirror, glaring at him. Just imagine someone other than Laura holding your hand. I'd rather not. My point exactly. I don't know. He shrugged. You speak of this emptiness, yet you do nothing about it. Your mother told me that one of her good friends has a daughter that's been eyeing you for a while. She did also warn me to never speak of this to you because she knows you would never accept. I sighed. 𝐊𝐲𝐬𝐧. I could never do that to her. I'd rather die empty than I sleeping next to a body I feel nothing towards. It's just a thought. Hamza put his hands up. No one will ever force you. But remember, if you don't birth pups, my son will become king. So I'm not too mad about any of this. You sure do know how to get under someone's skin. I sure do. He winked. You have 3 more reps. Continue. Well, 25 years after the war, I asked Mother to introduce me to her good friend's daughter. As I put my black shirt on, I stared at myself in the mirror. Unknown emotions swirling throughout of my being. Was I comfortable with the idea of meeting another woman? No, absolutely not. The only reason I agreed to was because she was a widow. A woman with a kind soul who had lost her mate in the war 23 years ago. She was going through the same thing as I, except she cowed and feel her mate in her bond. I felt as though I were cheating on 𝐊𝐲. I felt disgusting, regardless of the fact that it waited 23 years for her to come back to me, to her family and expecting nieces. I opened my wardrobe, eyes lingering on the caftans 𝐊𝐲 had worn when she last visited the north. Her scent dissipated from the fabric. In fact, her scent dissipated from my mind. I sighed, guilt rushing through my swaying soul. Her name was Aulia. The only thing I could think of was how many letters her and 𝐊𝐲's name shared. It stung like a great leech clinging onto my skin, but there was nothing I could do about it. It was either I stay loyal to 𝐊𝐲 and risk the possibility of having the same fate as my father's, or I begin taking steps to forming a life without her. She could come back at any point. It could be tomorrow or in 1 year, but 𝐊𝐲 already waited to decades. If anything, that meant she would never come back. The moon had other plans for her. I just hoped she was okay. Every day before I engaged in my deep slumber, I prayed to the goddess that she was okay. Where does she may be? It wasn't until I looked at myself in the mirror that I realized tears were running down my cheeks. I wiped them off with unexpected aggression. It's now or never. It's now or 1 more years of mourning. It's now or I'd die alone. Just like my grandfather did. 𝐶𝐻 here. Come down, Luca. Mother yelled from downstairs. Without a second thought, I walked down the stairs, greeting my mother with a kiss on the forehead. I'm just going to introduce you both to one another. She smiled up at me, stuffing her keys in her pockets. You two do the rest. I have to meet with 𝐿𝐻𝐻 and his mate. I'm not sure why, but Luna Farah ordered it. I'm pretty sure he said something stupid. But anyways, don't tall boys his age do so. 33-year-old alphas tend to be a little cocky. I said, go humble him. I sure will, she said as she rushed to the door. Are you ready? Mother linked. I nodded, sending her the best smile I could fabricate. She opened the door. Aulia, how wonderful to see you again. Come in, come in. Mother ushered the chestnut-haired woman into my home, forcing bile to rise in my throat. You didn't have to bring sweets. You always do this. Her eyes were a chocolate brown, not nearly as green as I would have liked. It's the least I can do, she replied, chuckling as my mother tugged at her. Her voice was deep, not as velvety as 𝐊𝐲's. Aulia, this is Luca, Mother said, turning so she could face me. Luca, this is Aulia. I will be off now. You to enjoy. I hated her. Aulia let out a shaky breath just as I took in a shaky breath. Mother sent us one last wave before closing the door behind her. We stood in silence for a beat, taking in one another's presence. I sensed she was fearful, confused and guilty even, just as I was. Come in, I said, voice low. Make yourself at home. She gulped. This all feels. She paused, placing her bread basket onto the dining table. This is. I don't. I know. I reassured her, swallowing an array of emotions. Trust me, I know. Tears rushed to her eyes. pulling at the strings of my heart. She knew. She knew. "Sorry. I'm sorry," she croaked, turning around so her back faced me, wiping at her tears. "This is the first time I'm alone with a man after my meal passed away." I walked towards her, pulling a dining chair outwards. "Take a seat," I asked. "Come on." "It's okay." She let out a sharp breath, counting in her head before turning around. "Thank you," she said, gracefully sitting on the chair I'd pulled out for her. I sat in front of her, watching as she patted her tears away. "This isn't how I expected this to go," 𝐊𝐲 admitted. "I thought 25 years was enough for me to forget." "How long did you know him for?" "I knew Fahad for 3 weeks. Fuck. I knew Leila for a little more than 3 weeks." My jaw gritted, attempting to hold my tears back. "So I understand your pain. It's just," she sighed, staring at her bread basket with questionable longing. "There was so much I didn't know about him. So much I was eager to find out. Then one day, he was gone. I begged him to forfeit. The previous Alpha even allowed it. He was excused, but, even for a baker, he refused to stand back. I did the same with Leila." Her eyes met my own, driving dizziness into my being. I begged her to not fight alone. I begged her to fight with me, not in front of me, but she refused. She said she did not want to bear a fate where I died because she did not fight hard enough. Fahad said the exact same. She smiled sadly, head tilted. We continued that way, spilling all the things we loved about our mates. All the things we missed the most and the things we regretted not doing enough. It was wonderful. We shared bread and painful memories, elevating weights from one another's chest. I liked it. The sun began to set, and eventually, we switched from sitting on the dining table to opposite ends of the 3-seater sofa. We silently agreed we were both not ready to evolve into anything romantic anytime soon. It made me more comfortable that we were both on the same page, regardless of the fact that we had never met one another. She was a wonderful woman, not nearly as wonderful as Leila was, but a wonderful woman nonetheless. I hoped I would meet her again after this. 25 years and 1 month after the war now. 𝐊𝐲 burst into a fit of laughter, eyes sparkling. "You have to pound the dough, not punch it. We're making sourdough, not flat bread. That's what I'm doing." I groaned, face grimacing. "I swear, I'm being as soft as I can. I'll show you. Look." 𝐊𝐲 got closer to me, her warmth seeping into my own, driving the beating of my heart into place I never expected it to go. Her hands met my own, moving them in slow, repetitive motions as she showed me how to correctly pound dough. She had soft hands. Soft, warm hands. "Like this." She smiled, a flick of flour on her nose as she stared at the dough. I don't know what got into me, but I rose my arm and patted the flour off her nose, swallowing deeply afterwards. She stilled, eyes widening as they connected to mine. Her chocolate pools were suddenly beautiful to me, 25 years and 4 months after the war. Location, the Northern Markets, Lucca. What do you think of the color green? 𝐊𝐲 ran her fingers down a green caftan that laid cinched at the waist. I smiled at the thought of Leila, her green eyes rushing through my memories. I stopped feeling her through my bond 2 months ago. And while it was hard at first, 𝐊𝐲 was there for me every step of the way. She sat through my fits and guided me out of my dark slumps, even the ones that got aggressive. Every time the void in my chest would grow at the emptiness the bond's absence left, 𝐊𝐲 would fill it by either baking me wonderful pastries and holding me when I needed her to. It was innocent. All of it was innocent. She was there for me, and I was there for her. "It's a wonderful color," I replied. "My favorite." In fact, she eyed the caftan, hair sliding off her shoulders as she tilted her head. "You like it, don't you?" I asked, heart squeezing at the sparkles in her eyes. "I cannot afford to buy something as beautiful as this. My bakery has just started off. I have not broken even yet. I'll buy it for you." It was without hesitation. Her lips parted. No, I refuse. No, I insist. I prodded. Luca, no, excuse me. Can I have this in her size? I called out to the employee who rushed to my aid. Of course, King. Whatever you like. The employee said, out of breath. Take this as a gift for blessing our store. That, I refuse too. We insist, no. And that is an order. I said, smiling back at the employee. He nodded quickly, going to the back of the store and grabbing the 𝐾𝐞𝐬𝐻 light. Luca, I must pay you back. 𝐊𝐢𝐬 said, a guilty look morphing on her once smiling face. If you do, I will take it as an insult. She scoffed. Oh, well then I definitely will. 𝐊𝐢𝐬 said, rolling her eyes. 25 years and 8 months after the war. Do you love her? Laura asked. I do. I said, collapsing onto her bed. Okay. Try not breaking my bed. Plus, the kids are asleep. You know how annoying young pups are when it comes to sound. Shut it. Anyways, she drawled out as she joined me in bed, holding a pillow to her chest. How do you love her? Is it in like a romantic way or a friendly way? I think it's romantic. I admitted. I want to take care of her. I want to spoil her and give her the life her male was unable to. When did you start feeling this way? When 𝐊𝐲 disappeared. Laura stilled. Does that mean 𝐿𝐲 gone? Like fully? Kate said it may mean 𝐿𝐲 either dead or gone to the point of no return. I watched as Laura's eyes lined with tears she was miraculously able to hold back. To this day I mourn for her, she said, looking down at her painted nails. It is because of her that I did not lose 𝐊𝐲. It is because of her that my daughter able to run through the markets and come back, no matter the time, that she does not get to experience the wonder we are in. I swallowed. I thought of that every day for the past 25 years and a half. I let out a deep breath, looking up at the ceiling. Mother said it was easier to was in a better place. So that's what I do now. It works most of the time, but other times it makes me hate myself. Mom said the same to me. Laura connected her eyes with mine. Look, all I'm saying is, if 𝐊𝐲 were to come back, would you choose her over 𝐊𝐲? In a heartbeat. My answer was instantaneous. Then you do not love 𝐊𝐲. You love the idea of 𝐊𝐲, but you do not love 𝐊𝐲. I ran a stressed hand down my face. It was only then I noticed my hands were shaking. 25 years and 9 months after the war. I helped 𝐊𝐲 close her bakery, placing the last clean chair atop its assigned table. Okay, now you can talk to me. She threw straight out onto the marble countertop, wiping her forehead with the back of her hand afterwards. What is it? I walked towards her and grabbed both of her hands, squeezing them. You know I love you. 𝐊𝐲. As do I, she replied, rubbing circles into my palm. But I need to be honest with you. You do. I took in a deep breath, and began. Have you ever thought of the possibility that 𝐊𝐲 might return? I asked. She furrowed her brows. Of course I have, she replied, almost offended. Luca, I do not expect you to choose me if she were to come back. It is insulting that you think I ever would. If Odd were to come back, I would run to him in a heartbeat. A weight was removed from my shoulders. She continued. Nonetheless, Luca, what you have is special. Do I think you are a fine man? Most definitely. Would I want to wed you? Yes, do I love you? Of course I do. But what we have is more than that. You've healed me more than I've healed myself in 25 years. The same way I've helped heal you. If 𝐊𝐲 were to come back, I would be heartbroken. That is undeniable. But I would be happy just as much. She palmed my neck in her hands, eyes glossing. I want you more than anything. But if the goddess does not will for me to wed you, then so be it. That is what the past 9 months with you have taught me. You truly are a wonderful woman. I wrapped my fingers around her thin wrist. 𝐊𝐲 would have loved you. 𝐊𝐲 snorted. She would have loved me before I met you. If she were to come back. Our mighty warrior would detest me. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 shrugged, removed her warm palms from my skin. But I do not blame her. I would hate me if I was her. Oh, 𝐊𝐲𝐬. I pulled her into a hug, laying a kiss on the top of her head. 𝐊𝐲𝐬, 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 Luca, 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 she repeated, chuckling into my chest. 25 years and 11 months after the war. We were all having dinner with 𝐴lfinator as we celebrated the recovery of the West. 𝐴lphaByl and his entire family sat across the table. Laura, Hamza and their children were bickering to the left of me. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 sat beside me, my hand resting on the top of her chair, and my mother to the other side of me. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 and I established we would not indulge in anything romantic until I was ready, and something in me, an invisible string if you would, told me I was. Something in me told me to wait a little longer, and so I listened to it. I don't know how you did it in only 25 years, but you did it. 𝐴lfinator shook his head, astonished. The West was doomed. All of their schools were taken down, along with almost 40% of their residential areas. But somehow, you managed to bring it all back up in a quarter of a century. Teach me your ways, 𝐊𝐢 said, taking a sip of his water as he leaned against his chair. Laura swatted 𝐊𝐢 across the head. You're not going to be king. I do not approve. Even if your uncle does not have a child before he rots in his grave, I will never accept for you to be part of that cursed role, Laura exclaimed, forcing laughter out of every honest soul. Just because you're �𝐻25 does not mean you're ready to lead. He rolled his eyes, eliciting another swat on the head from Laura. I'll teach you. Do not worry. I nodded to 𝐊𝐢. Laura threw a slice of bread at me. I caught it this time. I don't know what exactly was different about that day, but I caught it this time. 26 years after the war, my eyes flew open. I shot out of bed and ran to the guest bedroom, knocking rapidly onto 𝐊𝐲𝐬's door. She opened immediately, eyes frazzled. Did you hear that? I asked her, heart beating out of my chest. She nodded, gulping. So I'm not dreaming? I asked her. I don't think so. She flinched as the screech sounded once more. No, you're definitely not. Holy. My heart pulled in all directions, forcing me to lean against the side of the door. Holy shit. I slid against the fine wood, unable to hold myself as something reignited within the back of my soul. That was my beast. My beast was back, and it was singing.